Welcome, friends, to September 17th. It is Constitution Day. I am your host, Uncle Sam, here to talk to you about the greatest document of all time, the United States Constitution. By the time you're done watching this video, you will be Constitution experts. Are you ready to learn? Don't answer that. I know you are. We're going to start. So, in 1787, a group of people known as framers met in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, in a building called Independence Hall. It was named Independence Hall because that's where the Declaration of Independence was signed. The Declaration of Independence was a letter that we sent to the King of England declaring us free and independent, which also led to the Revolutionary War. More on that in a future video. So, from May to September of 1787, these framers of the Constitution met and had deep discussions about what should and should not be in the Constitution, what laws should be in the Constitution. They did not agree on everything, but they didn't always disagree. They eventually made a compromise on a lot of issues. And in a compromise, not everyone gets what they want, but that everyone gets something. And that is really what a compromise is. No one's 100% happy, but they're happy with what everyone came to, what agreement they came to. By the way, the framers during this time, you were only able to come to this meeting if you were rich, white, and owned property. If you weren't one of those three things, you were not able to have a say in government in 1787. I know, a lot's changed between then and 2020, but sometimes in history, we have to take the good along with the not so good. But anyway, back to Constitution Day. Once everything was settled, the framers signed the Constitution. And again, Constitution Day is the day they signed it, September 17th, 1787. All the rules for the country are in it. And the best part about this document was that the framers knew it wasn't perfect. They knew when they wrote it, things may come up later down the road that they want to add to it, which is why this is what we call a living document. What a living document is, that means no matter what time or what day it is, if people get together and want to make a change or add something or take something out, you're allowed to. It's a living document. Right now, the Constitution has 27 amendments to it. And it's right here next to Big Bear, all 27 amendments to the Constitution. Now, the first 10 amendments are known as the Bill of Rights. These listed several freedoms that weren't actually in the original Constitution document, but were later added so all 13 states would agree to sign. Personally, I like the First Amendment, which gives everyone the freedom of speech. That lets me dress up as Uncle Sam, it lets Soren and Big Bear have some fun, and I love to teach people online the way I'm doing. Some other people might think the Fourth Amendment is good because it protects you and it protects your stuff without Mr. Lures or Miss Garshow or Mr. Pluhoff trying to steal it. Or maybe your parents might try to steal something. It protects your right to do that. Again, there are 27 total, and I'm not going to go over all 27 because it might put you to sleep. Another good activity to do with your parents is to maybe look some up. But some things that were added to the Constitution was the abolishment of slavery. The 13th Amendment, a really important amendment. It was what the Civil War was really mostly about. The Constitution made that and banned slavery. Another thing that was put in the Constitution was giving women the right to vote. Women did not have that right until 1919. So they actually made an amendment to make women voting legal. So there are really important things that go in that Constitution. And when we find something that's wrong that needs to be changed, we can always add to it. Or if we find something in there that we don't like anymore, we can vote to have that taken out. The Constitution also created how our governments work. There are 3 branches, count them, 1, 2, 3 branches in the Constitution that help everything run. The first one is the legislative branch. They're the people who are in the House of Representatives and Congress. They're the ones whose primary job is to make the laws for the country. The legislative branch is very important because they're the ones that do all the debating about the laws. They're the ones that decide what bills become laws. They have an incredibly important job. The second branch of government is the executive branch. You recognize this mostly by the person who leads it. It's the President of the United States. Now, the President of the United States can't make laws, but he is the one who signs them into law. If he doesn't sign a bill sent from Congress, it's called a veto. And he can veto that, and then it has to go back to Congress, and they have to re-vote again. But if the president likes that bill, he signs it into law. President Trump, who is going to go into an election in November, is our 45th president, which means so far we have had 45 presidents after watching this video. But if you watch this video in January, if President Trump wins re-election, we'll still have 45. But if he loses, then we'll have a 46th president. And that would be added to the list. And we'd all have to change the president posters that are in our classroom. The last branch is the judicial branch. This branch is in charge by the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court looks at the laws Congress and the president sign, and they make sure all those new laws don't affect any previous laws. If they see something that goes against the Constitution, they have the right to say that doesn't happen. So they're the ones that make sure laws agree with laws we already have. All three branches of government have certain powers, but then all three branches of government have a check to make sure one branch doesn't have too much power. That's what's known as checks and balances. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is kind of the basics of the Constitution. Now, you might be asking, could I read this myself, Mr. Luers? You can. It's only about 4,500 words. The original Harry Potter was over 70,000. Now, you might not understand all the words, which might make it handy to have a parent or guardian there to kind of help you along and explain it. You could ask your parents to take you to Washington, D.C. once the pandemic's over and see this document, because it's right there hanging around in the National Archives at Washington, D.C. And someday if you come back, Mr. Luers always has the Constitution hanging up in his room, and I'm sure other teachers around wherever you go to school also have the Constitution hanging out. So, I hope that this gave you a little information about the Constitution. Throughout my class for the first couple of weeks, we're going to dive deeper into what the Constitution is, what the branches of government are, how to vote for president, all leading up to the 2020 presidential election. But never forget, September 17th, 1787, the anniversary of Constitution Day, the most important document in American history. I am your host, Uncle Sam, hoping you enjoyed this video and reminding you, the more history you learn, the more you know. Have a great day.